Hello everyone, welcome back to YK Reviews. Welcome back to the Monsterverse retrospective reviews for all the movies in the build-up to Godzilla x Kong. With today, we're going to be talking about Kong, Skull Island, coming out in 2017, so let's dive right into it. Now with this one, it's the next installment in the Monsterverse movies. I just did a review for the very first one, Godzilla, coming out in 2014. You can check that out on the channel. And if you are new to the channel, we do a whole bunch of retrospective reviews and along with that tier ranking videos. So if you like that type of stuff, do consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, hitting that notification bell, sharing the video, all that YouTube stuff here. We'd appreciate all of that support. Because when it comes to this movie, I remember really enjoying it when it first came out. And I remember rewatching it a couple of years ago in the build up to Godzilla vs Kong, and now once again in time for the Godzilla x Kong movie. Every single time I rewatch it, I have a great time with it. And honestly, the director with this movie does a fantastic job in some amazing shots that they do in the movie, which I'll talk about here. But in terms of overall with the movie, I really enjoy it. Again, it still holds up today. Just like 2014 Godzilla, this movie still holds up, even though it's only been a couple of years. It's such a blast with it. But if you've seen the movie, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm really curious. Do you enjoy it? Do you hate it? What are your thoughts overall? Let me know down in the comment section below, because with this movie, it opens up in 1944. So you get two characters both landing. We're in the middle of the Second World War, so you've got like an American landing in the middle of like a beach situation here, and then you get another character who I believe is like Japanese. They end up also landing in that same place. The American starts shooting this character but misses, even though he's like right there in the open, and they end up chasing each other. There's this sword battle between one another. They're fighting each other and on the edge of this cliff, and that's where you see the very first shot of Kong. And what I love is that when it comes to the Godzilla movie, it took a while for you to first see this first sighting of Godzilla. This one dives straight into it here. So you just see Godzilla's head popping up, looking at these two characters, and that's where that scene cuts, and that's what the opening sequence over. Because then we now go fast forward into 1973. So you've got Bill Randa, who's being played by John Goodman, a fantastic cast. Like, this movie has a very star-studded cast, like Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, John C. Reilly. It's just like to name a few. So amazing casting there. But with Bill Randa being played by John Goodman. Now, I mentioned this in the previous video in Godzilla 2014. I watched the Monarch show, and a show I really enjoyed. Definitely some flaws, but you get some great enjoyment out of it. Bill Randa's character is really elevated for me because of the Monarch show, and you get the backstory and everything like that. So with this movie, I was really into his character, with John Goodman's character, because of what you see from the Monarch show. Him and his other character, Brooks, who's being played by Corey Hawkins, they're going to the senator because they want to be piggybacking off of like these military people who are being pulled out of Vietnam. They want to piggyback off them so that they can go to the Skull Island. The senator isn't convinced because of Bill Randa's past and everything like that, but they end up convincing him by stating that if they do find something, it looks better if the Americans find it over the Russians. So that kind of convinced him to do it. And then you get this montage of introducing all the characters. So that's where you get Samuel L. Jackson's character and you see his crew. So you've got characters like Chapman, you've got characters that are being played by Thomas Mann, Jason Mitchell, Cole, who is being played by Shea Wiggum, and he is a fantastic cast. Like, I love Cole throughout this movie. Just his like one-liners and his dialogue just works so well. So you get introduced to these characters, and then you're also being introduced to Tom Hiddleston's character Loki from the MCU, because he's the tracker. He's going to be the one tracking things, along with like this war photographer being played by Brie Larson. Again, all fantastic casting choice in this movie, fantastic characters. So they all go into this cruise, they all go into this boat where they're talking strategies. You also get introduced to Kevin from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who's played by Mark Evan Jackson, and like I said, I known him from Kevin from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a great character in that show, an amazing show overall. So he's also in the mix too. So they're going over strategies, they're going over what they're going to do. That's where they get interrupted because there's this huge cloud, this huge hurricane, this storm, this clouds hovering above. So they end up going all into these helicopters to go fly through the storm. That's where you get Skull Island. And again, as I'm mentioning with the director, some incredible shots, some incredible footage of this island. You get to see the waters, the mountains, the cliffs. So there's just some amazing cinematography in this movie, especially showing off the island. And then all of a sudden they start dropping these bombs onto the island, waking up Kong and pissing off Kong, and that's where you get this amazing set piece of Kong just going ham on all these helicopters, throwing tree trunks through helicopters, swinging helicopters left, right and center, stamping on humans. Just an incredible set piece of just how he's destroying all these people. So like you've got people getting killed off, you've got people surviving, there's this amazing shot, you've got Samuel L. Jackson's helicopter going down, he's able to survive and he's trying to see what's going on, and there's this shot of him just staring at Kong's destruction, staring at Kong smashing a helicopter, with everybody running away, running past him with fire in the background and him just staring at Kong. That's where you get this storyline of Samuel L. Jackson's character wanting revenge from Kong, but it's just amazingly shot with that sequence in particular. So then the movie has you following two sets of groups. So you've got the military group with Samuel L. Jackson, Cole, Mills, Casey from Loki is also part of the movie as well. And then you've got the other group with Loki, Brie Larson, the human, like the civilians in the movie. You've got them following them and seeing how they're going to survive. And that's where you get also to see the island, the different creatures. So you see with Tom Hiddleston's group, they interact with this huge buffalo. You've got Samuel L. Jackson's group interacting with this spider insect looking creature as he's trying to capture Mills, but they end up cutting off his legs, shooting it, killing off that creature. So that's what I really like about this movie, is you get to see different type of monsters in the movie. So not just Kong, but different creatures living off of this island. There's even an octopus which Kong just ends up annihilating in front of Chapman, who is also a survivor by himself. And so with Tom Hiddleston's group, Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, they actually start running into these natives who at first there's this like tension all around, but then we get introduced to the character from the opening sequence, the American, who's actually being played by John C. Reilly. Was not expecting that casting choice, but we come to find out that he's been on that island for 29 years now because of not being able to return home. So he's sort of like this peacemaker. He's showing them around. That's where you get him explaining the law of everything. Kong is sort of viewed as this godlike figure on the island because he's the one that's keeping all these evil creatures away. We get the introduction to the skull crawlers, which out loud sounds like a stupid name, but you get this great dynamic in this. There is some comedy in this movie with Brie Larson, Tom Hiddleston and John C. Reilly in there. We understand more about what's going on with this island, how this island is being viewed, and what they need to do is that they have this plane/boat that they're going to end up fixing so that they can get to a certain point in the extraction point so that they can get the boat that's coming to pick them up later on in the movie. So that's their plan and that's what they're working towards. And then in terms of like Chapman, because he's by himself, he actually ends up getting eaten by one of those skull crawlers. So he's essentially killed off in the movie. And you're also seeing some relationship being built with Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston's character as they're getting to know one another. And then on the other side, you've got Samuel L. Jackson's quest for revenge, doing anything he can to first of all meet up with Chapman, who he doesn't know is dead, while also wanting to kill Kong. After they do fix the boat, they start leaving. Again, some amazing shots of the island once again. They manage to get a hold of Samuel L. Jackson's crew and they decide that where their meeting point is going to be. So once they do meet up, Samuel L. Jackson still wants to go find Chapman. He's able to convince everybody to follow his lead. So they end up at this mass grave where apparently that's where the bones and the remains of Kong's parents are. So we actually found out earlier on in the movie that Kong is like the last of his species because his parents, his family got wiped out. So they're going across this mass grave where Cole is lighting a cigarette. He ends up dropping the cigarette onto the floor, and that's where like this fumes come in and an explosion is causing one of the skull crawlers to come and attack them. And that's where you get to see the skull of Chapman with his dog tag in front of Tom Hiddleston's character, where we get confirmation basically of Chapman being killed off, even though we saw it in the earlier on in the movie. So they're trying to fight off this skull creature. Bill Randa actually gets killed by the skull crawler, which again, like I mentioned, because of the Monarch series, I was really invested with Bill Randa. So this one hurt even more after watching the series to find out that he's actually been killed off. He's confirmed dead in the Monsterverse universe. So Bill Randa, John Goodman's character, is being killed off, even though you get to see his camera working as he's going down the stomach of this creature. And then you get this amazing suspense sequence where it's like smoke is cloudy, they're all in a circle trying to see where this creature is, and then once it does come out, they try to use a flamethrower on the creature, only for the flamethrower guy to get killed off, and then a whole bunch of little creatures start flying out. You get Tom Hiddleston turning into like this samurai when he's got this sword slashing and cutting all these creatures left, right and center, and Brie Larson ends up firing a lighter where the skull creature is, causing an explosion, causing this creature to burst into flames and explode. And after all of this has happened, they still want to go to the boat, but again, Samuel L. Jackson's character, because his quest for revenge for Kong, he still wants to go after Kong. He wants to kill the creature. So you've got the military, all the people from the military crew going with Samuel L. Jackson to try and kill off Kong, while you've got Brie Larson, Tom Hiddleston, John C. Reilly, and then the two scientists, Dr. Brooks and this other character, going to go for the boat. And there's a sequence where you've got Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, they're on top of this cliff as they're trying to search for the river, trying to search for the boat, where you see Kong staring at them. You see Brie Larson and Kong looking at each other's eyes, and that's when explosions start happening in the background, which is Samuel L. Jackson's character and the military trying to lure Kong in. So Kong follows, and they light up the river, they light up the water, causing flames, causing fire to just go and consume Kong, but that has no effect on him whatsoever. Of course, it gives him a bit of damage, but it's not enough to kill him. So this pisses off Kong. He stamps on Kevin from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He ends up collapsing onto the floor, and that's where Samuel L. Jackson is wanting to detonate Kong, but Brie Larson, John C. Reilly, Tom Hiddleston all arrive in time, and there's this conflict between everybody. Samuel L. Jackson wants to kill him, Tom Hiddleston's trying to stop them, and the military, like the rest of the crew, finally start turning on Samuel L. Jackson's character because they don't want to kill off Kong. The giant skull crawler ends up arriving as well because of the commotion that's being caused, so everybody decides to flee, everybody decides to run, except for Samuel L. Jackson, who's so determined to kill Kong. He has his famous great line, last line, on Kong, but that's when Kong just grabs him and just kills him. So Samuel L. Jackson is dead. And then so as everybody's trying to run away, the Skullcrawler starts chasing them. Cole tries to sacrifice himself. Cole, a character I was really invested in, I was rooting for this character. He tries to sacrifice himself only to be flung by the Skullcrawler's tail, flings him into this cliff only for him to explode, killing off Cole, which I thought was such a sad death. Like, it's him and Bill Randa's character, one of the saddest deaths in this movie. And so then Kong arrives. They have this back and forth, this fight sequence, once again similar to like Godzilla movie, a great fight sequence between these two creatures. Kong punching this creature, the creature using his silkiness to like wrap himself around him. So an amazing fight sequence that you get between the two of them. And so you think that the skull creature's got the better of Kong. He looks like he's about to finish him off when the boat does arrive, and you've got Brooks shooting this creature. The creature's starting to go after the boat. Kong is wrapped in these chains. He starts pulling himself off of the trains, so he ends up throwing it, swinging it at the skull crawler, and just starts beating the crap out of him. And once again, you got this fight sequence. Brie Larson is on top of the cliff. The monsters hit the cliff and she ends up falling. Kong catches her, and so he thinks that he beaten the skull crawler. When the skull crawler tries to like eat the hand that's got Brie Larson in it, Kong ends up pulling the tongue and just pulling all the insides of the skull creature, finally killing off the creature, saving also Brie Larson, who was in the river at the time as well. So Brie Larson's able to survive. Kong acknowledges all of this. He ends up walking away with all these survivors left on the boat, ends up going back onto land to rejoin society basically. And you also get a clip of John C. Reilly's character, who was mentioned earlier on in the movie, wants to go back to his wife and his son. You end up seeing that footage of them reuniting with his family, so a great little moment in there. Ending off the movie with the end credit scene, which I feel like hasn't really paid off yet, because I don't really see Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston coming back, which I kind of hope they do, but most likely because it's takes place in 1973, 30-40 years since this movie has taken place technically. A really, really enjoyable movie, one I had such a fun time with, and again, one that you can just enjoy or go back to rewatch because it still holds up. So I want to know your thoughts. Please let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are about the movie. Do you enjoy it? Do you like it? Are you not a fan of this movie? Let me know down in the comment section below, because I'm very curious about it. And keep an eye out, because the next movie we're going to do, I think, is probably the weakest in the franchise. It's a Godzilla King of Monsters movie, so keep an eye out on that. But thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. This is YK Reviews. Peace.